or in Port Hedland, and Port Hedland is the biggest iron ore port in the world. And you probably can't see out there, but I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vessels just out there ready to come in for iron ore. Most of the iron ore goes to China. Those vessels would be in length about 7 Olympic swimming pool size in length. Well, that red colour that you can see on those tanks was before they started to monitor the air for the iron oxide. So it's not rust, it's the iron oxide colour. Well, I'm lucky. I was the last one to get on the Twilight Industry Tour. So I've come to the Port Hedland Visitor Centre to be picked up. I'm supposed to see the world's largest bulk export port from outside looking in with an expert guide. It's a 1.5 hour bus tour, and I'm going to learn about the history of the port as I travel past the Dampier salt site around to Finucane Island, where I'll learn about our miners BHP, Fortescue, Metal Group, Roy Hill and others. And as the sun sets over the port, I'm going to enjoy a complimentary beverage while watching the ships come and go. And on the trip home, I'm told we'll see the whole port light up as the night shift begins. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, a couple of interesting facts. Salt, first of all, that's produced at Port Hedland using an evaporative process. And salt's harvested, washed, stockpiled, and it takes 60 million tonnes of seawater to produce 1 million tonnes of salt. 70% goes into chemical production: caustic soda, chlorine, detergents, plastics, glass, industrial chemicals, and road de-icing. 20% is used in food processing. Now, manganese, Australia produces 15% of the world's manganese ore. And iron ore are rocks and minerals from which iron can be extracted relatively economically. The ores are usually rich in iron oxides and vary in colour from dark grey, bright yellow, or deep purple to rusty red.
Largest bulk export port. It's the third largest port in the world, but it's the world's largest bulk export port. And last year we exported 538 million tonnes of material out of this harbour. 531 million tonnes of iron ore. Now the iron ore comes from the bottom of the car dumper shed on these conveyor belts coming across the road here, and all the material goes through a screening plant over here on the right. Then the train does a big loop out there on the left and goes back out to the mine. So over here is a screening plant where Fortescue Metals can screen out what we call fines and lump. So fines are small bits of iron ore, lump is the big stuff. I've got a sample to show you later on. You run into a place called Utah Point where all the trucks drop off iron ore, manganese and spodumene. Spodumene's a rock that's got lithium in it. So that's 6,400 shipping movements in and out. Now of course we have a 7.4 metre tidal range, which means that we can't always move ships at low tide. But the rule of thumb is, as long as there's 25 centimetres of water under a ship, we'll move it, full or empty. They bring the ship in, they take it down into what's called the basin. which is down the far end of this harbour, and the 4 tugboats spin the ship around, the empty ship, they spin it around, and then they push it up against the wharf where it's roped off. Now, it takes about 45 minutes to rope a ship off, but on one of our berths, which is called Utah Point, where the trucks drop off, we've got a ComSec system that just is like a big vacuum. It comes out, it vacuums onto the side of the ship, pulls the ship back to the berths, and the whole ship is hung onto and goes up and down with the tide, and the whole ship is berthed in 40 seconds. Alright, now over here is one of the stackers. This is a articulated stacker, so it can go as high and wide as it wants to build the stockpile. Obviously the person operating that is having dinner or something, but these are again operated out of Perth. The iron ore comes from Finucane or from Port Hedland through the tunnel and from various locations on a conveyor belt over here to this transfer station on the end of the harbour. Once it hits the transfer station, it gets sent down the wharf to the shiploader, and you can see a shiploader there pouring iron ore into the ship. Now, there is a person sitting in the top of that shiploader that is controlling the flow of iron ore, or the direction of flow of iron ore into the ship. In other words, the person in that shiploader called the chief. The chief has ultimate say as to how the ship is going to get loaded. So the person in the top of the shiploader is talking to the chief. The chief says, I want 65,000 tonnes in this bulkhead, I want 35,000 tonnes in this bulkhead, I want 15,000 tonnes in this bulkhead, I want you to put more on this side or less on this side or whatever. They absolutely have to load that boat evenly. If they don't load that boat evenly and it were to list to one side, then we're in all kinds of trouble. If they were to load the boat unevenly front to back, it can stress fracture the boat. So they absolutely have to get that right. But where the iron ore is coming from is a decision made out of Perth.
How long does it take to fill a boat?
So it takes between 24 hours and 36 hours to fill these ships, depending on the size of them. Some of our ships can carry 280,000 tonnes of iron ore. Some only carry 150,000, or even some are less actually. Okay, over here on the left hand side we can see a reclaimer picking up iron ore out of a stockpile.
Do these things work around the clock?
Yeah, it's 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. There's no difference between day and night, no difference in shipping, no difference in any of this operation. It's just the sun goes down, that's it. Now, to give you an idea of how much money's been spent here, Roy Hill have one mine, one railway line, and 2 shipping berths, and it cost them $10 billion to build that project in 2014-15. So there's hundreds and hundreds of billions been spent in here to make this work.
With all this automation that's happening though, Phil, couldn't we do more in Australia to do more of the refining of iron ore, or the production of steel, rather than let it happen overseas?
Well, Twiggy Forest wants to build a hydro a hydrogen-powered steel plant here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the Western Australian context, years ago, and many years ago, when Sir Charles Court was the Premier here, he and Lang Hancock tried to lobby the federal government to build a railway line from Queensland to WA and have steel smelters on either side, because Queensland's got the coking coal,
Yes.
we've got the steel.
Yep.
Or